Stuff. Well, we are at 4:30, just a touch after 4:30. So thank you, Karen. Thanks, John. Thanks, Jane. Good stuff. So happy days. I really appreciate you joining me for this crisis averted webinar. And this is the second one of those I've done this week. And there'll be more to come as we hear more news from the government over the next few days. There are about 50 people scheduled to join the webinar, so we've got 4 or 5 still to join by the look of it. So let me give you a bit of a little bit of a heads up. So my name is Simon Elson. I'm the founder and head coach at Action Coach in West Hertfordshire. So we cover everything from the M1 to Aylesbury, Leighton Buzzard to Chesham, that kind of ellipse, and I'm the head coach of this organisation. We specialise in everything from startups all the way through to executive coaching, and so 25 to 30 clients on a regular basis that we work with to enable them to grow their businesses. Things have been going swimmingly until the last couple of weeks, and obviously the situation we find ourselves in is not normal. And as a consequence, all of the action coaches in the UK, there are 200 of us-ish, have been putting our heads together and coming up with strategy and schedules and information that's really helpful to you, we hope, in terms of getting a plan together and figuring out where your business is going for the next, let's just deal with the next 90 days, because I think that's the most important period from now onwards. If you're a current client, you probably joined me for my Growth Club, which took place on the 20th of March. That feels like an eternity ago already. And those plans that were written in that meeting have changed dramatically in a very, very short period of time. Because we're on lockdown, right? So the UK government have basically told everybody to stay in their homes unless they have a need to go to work. The only reason I'm in my office and I'm here all by myself is because I wanted to run this webinar to help out some of the business owners in the region, in the area. So we're going to run through about half an hour's worth of slides. There's a lot of content in there. I will share the deck with you afterwards if you're interested in that. And the purpose of this deck is to really give you what I think are the 11 steps, what Action Coach thinks are the 11 steps that will enable you to survive and thrive through this period. Some of that is really good stuff, and some of that is crisis management stuff. But right at the end, I'm going to share with you a timeline that we've developed, which really presents the steps that are likely to happen over the next 4 or 5 weeks, and what, from a coaching perspective and a business perspective and a personal perspective, we think you should be doing. So without further ado, we'll dive straight into this. We are 4 minutes past 4:30, which was the start time. So slide number 1, I'm doing this with a PowerPoint presentation just because it's easier for you guys to see, but we will make notes and take notes as we go. Hope you've got a pen and paper ready to take down anything which is important. There are a couple of questions that I'm going to ask as we go through this that I would love some feedback on. And then right at the end of it, again, in terms of its value, the presentation, and my value to you, in terms of what you've learnt, what you've understood, I'd be really keen to get your feedback. So number 1, step 1, the thing that positions everything with your staff in the business, if you have staff, with your suppliers, with your customers, with your clients, with whoever else it is that your business deals with on a day-to-day basis. Positive communication is a massively important thing. How much positive communication do you see when you turn the TV on and listen to the news? How much positivity do you hear when you turn the radio on and listen to the news? It's a tough world out there, right? And unfortunately, the negativity that is being fed through the business community and fed through the consumers that many of us sell to is having a negative impact on business and on the opportunity generally. So where do we start with communication? The most important thing is for you to have absolutely 100% crystal clear what your vision and goals are. They may not be the same vision and goals that you had 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or 3 months ago or a year ago. So you need to sit down and address those and make sure you're absolutely clear on where it is you're going. One of the slides we'll get to in a little while is about changing your business potentially changing your business. And so that ties in really nicely to vision and goals. Where am I going? What am I doing? How am I doing it? And what do I want to achieve? So first point in terms of positive communication. One of the things I talk about when I'm coaching people is I'm going to lend you my enthusiasm. I'm going to lend you my positivity. I'm going to lend you my optimism and the fact that my glass is always half full, because I want you to be positive about your business. And so that passion and enthusiasm that you potentially felt when you first started your business, or when things were going really well, may have waned a little in the last week, given the current circumstances. You need to find it. You need to find that passion and enthusiasm, and that needs to be pushed out in your communication to the larger community, to staff, to suppliers, to customers, to clients, whatever you describe those people that buy products or services from you. So vision and goals, crucial, recalibrate, passion and enthusiasm, really, really important. Become stronger. So I struggled with kind of the phraseology here, but become stronger really is about the strength of your communication. So how do you describe that passion to somebody? How do you make sure it comes over in the most positive way? And that's a strength in the way that you do things. I'm standing up today. I might normally sit down and do these. I want you to feel the passion and enthusiasm that I have for helping you to get through this current crisis and develop your business. Survival, right? So we are going to survive this. We're all going to survive this. You know, positive communication. When we get through this, when lockdown disappears and business gets back to normal, as it inevitably will do, we are going to survive this. And you know what? We're going to thrive as a result of the hard work that we put in over the next few weeks to get through the crisis as it currently stands. And positive communication to your people, to your team, critical. My largest customer's got about 350 people in his business, and the message that he gives out to those 350 people is no different to John down the road who's got 4 people working for him, or Fred down the road who's got 1 person working for him. It's about, we can get through this. We're going to achieve. What are we going to do? How are we going to diversify? And what is that? What is the strength of that passion and enthusiastic vision that he's painting for his business, that I'm painting for my business, and that you should be painting for your business? So positive communication, absolutely crucial. That's step 1. Step 2, we've all got to think really hard about what it is we do from a business model point of view. And I'll just give you a very personal example. I love coaching face-to-face. I love to see the whites of the eyes of the person that I'm talking to. I get a connection from doing that. And do you know what? In the last 2 weeks, I've done more Zoom coaching sessions than I have in the last 2 years. And they work. They work. And why do they work? Because they give complete focus on the topic that you're coaching on at that particular point in time. No distractions, no cars going past the window, no cups of coffee, none of that. So they really work. So how can you change potentially your business model? Obviously, I don't know what all of you on the webinar do, but how can you change your business model given the current circumstances? And could you come out of this with a business model that's actually leaner, tighter, more focused and more efficient than it was before you went in? It's quite a common thing to have a business get relatively lazy over the years. And so figuring out where you're going is a really, really important part of that puzzle. Forgive the rustling of paper. I've written this down on here so that everybody can get the full terminology. This is a definition that we use quite a lot, and it's really simple when you decode it. So D is dissatisfaction times V, which is vision, plus F, which is first steps, overcomes R, which is resistance. So dissatisfaction, I'm unhappy with the current situation. Vision, here's my plan, here's where I'm going. Plus the first steps, that's the action. We are action coach, not think about coach. So this is all about what are the first steps and how do I enact that? And that overcomes any resistance or reluctance that there might be to implement a change in your business model, a change in your terms, a change in your pricing, a change in whatever else it might be. So think really hard about that. Dissatisfaction times vision plus first steps overcomes resistance. A really simple formula, but it is absolutely true in everyday life and certainly every day of my business life. So small pivots. Pivots become a very overused word in the last few weeks. Everybody's talking about pivoting their business or pivoting this. So I tend to think about this more as a sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. I apologise for that. I tend to think about this more as a marginal gains is perhaps a better phrase. So of all the things you do in the business, if there are 100 things in your business, can you improve each one of those by 1%? Because if you can improve each one of those by 1%, by the time you get to the end of 90 days, you're going to have an enormous improvement in what the business is doing, what the business is able to achieve. So small pivots, is that pivot in the way that you calculate your pricing? Is it in the way you produce your product? Is it in the way you deliver your service? Is it in the way your fleet is out on the road and what they do? You know, is it an electric fleet, not a petrol fleet? And there are all sorts of questions that need to be asked and answered there. But think about that. All of those small changes cumulatively will add up to a big change within the next 90 days and a bigger change within the next 12 months. So small pivots, small changes. And out of every problem, out of every crisis, out of every disaster, there is always an opportunity. So what is the opportunity? Many of the restaurants that I'm sure you'll know are now offering delivery services, for example. So there's a pub that I coach down the road. I had Sunday lunch ordered from the pub this weekend. They served the lunch out of the window in a bag, a contactless credit card payment, didn't touch anybody or any of the building or anything else. Got back in my car, drove home. Fabulous Sunday lunch. It was Mother's Day after all. So is there an opportunity to diversify away from what you're doing currently, or to just twist what you're doing currently in order to make your service delivery or similar different? And don't forget, whilst you think you're having a hard time, somebody down the road is potentially having a harder time, but somebody else up the road is having a great time. Somebody else is thriving. What are they doing that you can copy? What are they doing that you can feed off? What are they doing that you can use some of the techniques, some of the marketing messages maybe that are going to help you to get your business thriving during this tough time? Marketability is a big phrase around this, and we've got a slide specifically on marketing in a few moments. So somebody else is doing well. How do I get my business to do well, and what do I need to change? And then it's about leverage. So what have you got in your business that is perhaps the golden nugget in your business? Is there another way that you can leverage that piece of technology, knowledge, service, product, or otherwise, so that you can use it to scale your business? Have you been offering a service, a physical service that you can now offer online? One of the things I've been thinking about is, can I offer online coaching that's canned? So, you know, coaching on a particular subject, where you can buy that particular lesson or that particular coaching topic and then consume it as you wish at some point in the future. So how can you leverage the golden nugget that is in your business and use that in a different way, potentially, to the way you're using it today? And then, of course, the biggest one, I guess the biggest change for most people is, when we were told to go home and work, it was virtual. God, we're no longer in the office anymore. What is that like? That's really hard for some people. So technology is critically important. You are on a large format webcam in my office with a massive TV that you can't see behind it, so that I can run these presentations. That technology and the Zoom software that I'm using enables us to do exactly what we're doing today. Zoom is going to become like the new Hoover. I think it's going to become the default name for the technology that you use to do video conferencing. But what technology have you got? Have your staff got the right laptops? Have they got webcams in them? Have they got microphones in them? Have they got the right software installed? Do they need IT support in order to make all of that stuff work properly? Have they got a good broadband connection? Do they live out in the countryside where it's not a good broadband connection? Does that present some problems? So all of those things you've got to think about from a technology point of view. As virtual is now the new normal, you've got to make sure that the technology matches what it is you're trying to achieve. And if you thought technology was a big problem, human management is an even bigger problem. So some people find it really hard to work remotely. They find it really hard to work from home where there's no social interaction, when they've got to manage their own schedule. There's nobody watching over their shoulder to make sure things are being done. appropriately or otherwise. A lot of mental health issues associated with being isolated, relatively speaking. Perhaps not if you've got kids, because of course you've got the kids to look after at the same time as well now. So that whole human management piece is really, really important, and actually quite difficult to manage remotely. Remote management is an art. Management in an office of your staff is an art, but remote management is absolutely a much, much bigger art. And getting it right is crucial. Obviously, social distancing is all part of this, work from home scenario. You've got to make sure that anybody that is not working from home but is still working, potentially in a factory, or my wife works for the NHS, she's works in a doctor's surgery, but she's in there every day mixing with other people. Got to make sure social distancing and hand washing and all of the other things we're supposed to do is still prevalent and still abided by those rules. I mentioned feeling alone. Mental health issues associated with being isolated are significant. Don't underestimate the impact, particularly on productivity, that can have. So people who are isolated and suffer from mental health issues or focus or whatever else it might be, that tends to downgrade their productivity. So you need to find a way to make sure you're able to support people in that environment, so they're not feeling as alone, and they can survive and thrive in the process. If you thought face-to-face meetings were unproductive, meetings over Zoom can be equally unproductive. My recommendation for this is really simple. Make sure your agenda is really tight. Make sure the time scale is really tight. Make sure there's a person running the meeting. Make sure there's somebody else taking notes, and make sure the end result of any meeting is an action list with names attached to it, so you know exactly who's doing what and when. But managing that remotely is a different art to managing it physically when everybody's in front of you. And then lastly, reporting and planning. So everybody in every role in every company has some element of reporting to do and some element of planning. How are you going to manage that now they're not in the office? There's no whiteboard on the wall anymore to scribble on. So going back to technology, you need to find another way to deliver that and to focus on it and make sure reporting, planning and KPIs are completed in just the same way as they were previously, but potentially using a different mechanism, different technology. One of my favorite topics is dashboards, having a dashboard for your business that tells you what's happening in specific areas. Now's the right time to have a dashboard for sales, a dashboard for marketing, a dashboard for operations, a dashboard for finance, and make sure that all of those things are showing green lights every day. Otherwise, you need to dive in and figure out who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, when they're supposed to be doing it. So virtual is absolutely the new normal. Think really hard about what that remote working looks like. So if those three things weren't important enough, cash flow management is obviously crucial right now. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the support that the government are giving, have proposed to give to the business community, self-employed today, we hope, at 5 o'clock, and employed, small business rates relief, coronavirus business interruption loans, the British Business Bank. There's loads and loads of stuff in there. If you haven't got a handle on all of that stuff, drop me a note, because we have a Dropbox folder that I can give you access to, and in there is all the appropriate documentation, hot links for all of the applications, everything that we know as of midnight last night when I finished the document and put it in the Dropbox folder is up to date. It'll get updated tonight, and there'll be a new version dropped in the same folder. If you want access, let me know. I'm happy to give you access so you can see what is happening. So think about this: time to cut costs and extend credit. My recommendation to all of my clients and everybody I've done a free 30-minute coaching session for in the last few days, we've done about 12 of those now. My recommendation is cut your costs now, don't wait. Extend your credit now, don't wait. If you can extend the payments or get a payment holiday on your lease, get a payment holiday on your mortgage, get a payment holiday on anything else which is applicable, then you absolutely should do that. Jane, yes, of course you can have access to the Dropbox. I'll do that afterwards. So good time to cut costs and extend your credit. Keep important suppliers and partners on side. If you can't pay a supplier or you can't pay a partner, be upfront about it. Explain you've got cash flow problems. Give them some indication as to when they get paid. Give them a payment plan. keep them on side because you're going to need them in 4 or 5 weeks' time when we come out of all of this and you're looking to restock for whatever purpose that might be. So really important. And that's part of the communication piece as well. You know, point number one, if you're going to communicate, make sure you're communicating properly to your partners and suppliers and don't give them any surprises they weren't expecting. Government programs. So I mentioned, reeled off a list of those a few minutes ago. There's all sorts of support going on there. How do I get access to those? Get into my Dropbox. You'll be able to see all of that information, even information on furloughing employees and how you claim back the 80%, excuse me, the 80% rebate from the government as part of the salary package. Postpone what you can. So as I said, postpone your loans, your credit card repayments, and anything else that you absolutely can. I don't think this is going to be horribly long from a lockdown perspective, but it's certainly going to be the next 4 weeks, you know, maybe a couple of weeks longer than that, depending on what happens. And when we go through the timeline right at the end, you'll see how we've kind of positioned this in terms of the work that you need to do in various areas. But right now, if a pound can be in your bank account rather than somebody else's, my recommendation is you keep it in your own. But make sure you communicate what's happening. Make sure you ask permission to not pay your VAT, for example. VAT payment holiday for the next 3 months has been offered by HMRC, but you need to tell them you're not going to make the payment. Postpone what you can, change your cost structure. So as we said a few moments ago, you know, in the process of you making some changes to the structure of the business, anything that is considered a luxury or was considered a luxury, today is a luxury for sure, you should drop. Change your cost structure, reduce your cost base. It might only be 2 months before you want to re-implement that, but in those 2 months, you could have saved yourself a significant amount of cash. £1 in your bank account is better than in somebody else's right now, because this is about surviving and thriving, right? And lastly, is there a possibility to sell your way out of this? Some of my clients, relatively unaffected by this, I've encouraged every client to turn up their marketing, turn it up and make it appropriate for today from a messaging point of view, because ultimately we want to be able to sell our way out of this. So anything which is accumulated as no sale today, in 4 weeks' time, that sale is probably going to come through and come back, and you want to make sure that it's yours, so don't turn off your marketing in the meantime. Okay, well, there's a nice introduction to marketing. So your marketing's got to change. There's absolutely no doubt, given what we know today, that the messages you're giving out are probably different to the messages you gave out a few weeks ago. So if I just take one of my clients, it's a great example, industrial cleaning business. They do windows, they do gravel, they do garden maintenance, they do roofs of large industrial buildings and so on and so forth. They have closed that part of their operation and opened a part of the operation which is focused on deep cleaning COVID-19 buildings. So they will go in and decontaminate a building after somebody has been found to have the disease and everybody's gone home. So marketing has got to shift. So your messaging has got to shift. It has to be different. It has to be compassionate. So the hard-nosed marketing that some companies would have done previously has gone away. So I am not interested right now in getting an offer to go on holiday in Turkey. I am absolutely interested in other offers that might be much more appropriate to the current situation, like how do I order my groceries online, for example, or how do I get the best dog food delivered to my door, or whatever it might be. But it's got to be a different kind of marketing message that the consumer or the client is receiving to the one that they were receiving previously. Urgency, you've got to change it now, change it today. Don't keep on with the marketing you did previously, because the consumer requirements, your client's requirements are different today to what they were previously. So urgent change and review in your marketing process. Virtual and viral. So, you know, clearly it's really simple to continue just doing the same old social media, same old LinkedIn. If you follow me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, you'll see that we've changed our marketing strategy completely. We've gone away from the, you know, chances of signing a one-to-one client for me today are much reduced. There are still some, but they are much reduced. What's much more important to me and to the business community is that we're offering free Survive and Thrive panicked plan coaching sessions, 30 minutes on the phone, hit the high notes, get a plan delivered, off they go, come back in a couple of weeks' time. No charge for those things. We just want to be able to give back a little to the local community. So virtual and viral, influencer marketing right now is a really good thing to do. Lots and lots of different things, but stop and think about what it is you're doing, what the message looks like, who you're delivering it to, and more importantly, how you're delivering it. And as I said a little while ago, turn it up, turn the dial up on your marketing. You need to do more than before. You need people to know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. And if you can contribute something to the community at large as a result of what you're doing, now's a great time to be implementing that. And then lastly, if you're a client of mine, you'll know all about the 5 ways. This is the sales funnel, the number of leads that go in the top of the sales funnel, and the number of pounds that drop out of the bottom of the sales funnel. You need to know those numbers really, really well, because you are potentially going to spend more money to get the more leads in order to generate the same amount of pounds coming out of the bottom of the sales funnel. So we advocate testing and measuring everything we do. So if your 5 ways model, that's the know your numbers, 4 weeks ago was delivering X, chances are today it's delivering Y. How do you get it to deliver X? You have to do some extra stuff, more marketing, different messaging, and so on. So know your numbers, massively, massively important from a marketing point of view. Okay, so sales. The only thing I really have to say about sales is sales is not a skill. People talk about sales being a real skillful thing to do. It's not really. Sales is about somebody getting to know you, to like you, and to trust you. And if those 3 things are true, then they will buy from you. And so a lot of people will say to me, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a salesperson. You don't need to be. You just need to be nice and genuine and authentic and know your product, and to be able to communicate in a sensible and today compassionate way so that people get that message. So you need to change your tone. You need to focus really heavily on the customer and what it is they're after. It's still selling, of course it is, but it's now selling with a purpose. And the purpose is to meet the customer's needs 100%. If you can figure that out, then those relationships are going to matter not just today, but they're going to matter when we come out of this crisis. You can build yourself an entirely new customer base on the back of a problem like this if you get your sales tone and your marketing tone just right. So it's worth some time and effort spent on getting that polished. So sales leads us on really nicely to customer service. So again, if you're a client of mine, we talk about raving fans. So everybody that comes into my restaurant, I want to leave as a raving fan. I want them to say the waitress was fabulous or the waiter was fabulous. The cocktails were amazing. The food was superb. The ambiance was great. The music wasn't too loud. The seats were comfortable. How do you get your customer service to be absolutely the best in the category in which you operate as a business? So keeping all your existing clients is a must. Making them into raving fans means you're going to keep your existing clients. How are you going to love you even more? Going above and beyond. What a great time to build a loyalty program. If you don't have a loyalty program in your business today for your clients, now is a great time to introduce one. Those clients will thank you for it, and they'll thank you even more for it in 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months' time. Remember, virtual must make visible. There's lots of little things that we do in our businesses which benefit the customer that we never talk about. Now it's time to say, you thought there were 3 steps to me delivering the service to you. There's actually 5, and these 2 things here you never see, but we do a great job of this, and here's how fabulous they are. Make those hidden goodies, those hidden golden nuggets visible to your customer, because they'll appreciate things all the more. They want to know that you love them. They want to know that your product is the best and your service is the best and your pricing is the best, and so on and so forth. So remember to make those little golden nuggets visible. And this is one of my favorites. So critical non-essentials. CNEs we talk about quite a lot. Do you know your best client's birthday? If you don't, you should. And what should you do on his birthday? Send him a birthday card. When you go out and meet somebody for the first time and you come back to your office, what do? Send them a thank you email? How about you send them a postcard that says, great to meet you, can't wait for our meeting on Tuesday. So critical non-essentials, the things that most other people don't think about are the things that right now you need to be thinking about. How do you differentiate yourself and make yourself stand out Get that customer service model fabulously polished so that it is the best in the industry that you operate in. And if you keep your customers, that's where the profit is. So the best customer you'll ever have is a customer you've already got. It is cheaper to keep a customer on board than it is to acquire a new one. If customer A comes back into my restaurant 5 times during the year, I've got 500% value from that customer. If I upset that customer on his first visit and the next customer on the next visit and the next, I've paid 5 times to get those customers in the door, potentially. So it's cheaper to keep an existing customer than it is to bring in a new customer. You don't need to market in the same way to an existing customer that you do to a new customer. So cost of acquisition is much higher than cost of retention. And that equals more profit. Okay, so people, another one of my favorite subjects. There are 3 things that an employee wants from you. They want absolute clarity, certainty, and motivation. If you can deliver those 3 things, then people will be loyal. Lee Iacocca, the quote that you see on the slide, was the president of Ford Motor Company for a whole bunch of years in the US. Start with good people, lay out the rules, communicate with those employees, motivate and reward. And if you do all those things effectively, you can't miss. People appreciate all of those things: clarity, certainty, motivation. Right now, there's a lot of fear in people, even in people that I didn't necessarily expect to see. So mindset is crucial in this process. We talked about positivity earlier on, and generating a positive mindset is part of that. That helps to turn fear into focus. The more you can motivate people, support people, and encourage people, the better the focus that you'll find that they have. I think one of the important things here is health. So diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, mindfulness or meditation, those 5 things you want to be encouraging your staff to do. At lunchtime, they should be taking their hour's daily walk away from everybody else. No, all social distancing, obviously, but that helps to create a much more positive mindset and allows them to focus later in the day. Nothing worse than sitting for 8 hours at a desk by yourself. Set new standards. Good time to recalibrate everything. Good time to set the expectations to somewhere that you want them to be now that's different from where they were 2 weeks ago. Set new standards and have people rise to those standards. It's up to you to lead the team into meeting the new standards, generating the right customer service, creating the right marketing, and being seen as leading the business, really important. Now, it might just be you in business, and so you need to be seen to be leading and helping and advising your clients, the local business community, whatever else it might be. Really important that you're seen to be a leader in this environment. And of course, in lots of places, in lots of businesses, there are costs that are inside the business. How do we turn those into profits? Is there somebody that's a cost center today where they're costing you money, and by pivoting, as we talked about earlier on, by changing the business model slightly, that person can become a profit generator or at least become cost neutral to your business? So really worth thinking about roles, where people sit in the organization, what it is they do. If you're going to set new standards and new processes and potentially pivot the business, where does everybody need to sit? And then train and retrain. What a great time to be training people. Business is flatter than it has been for a long time, potentially non-existent in some areas. Train. Get those people trained and retrain them for whatever else it is that you want them to be doing going forwards. And ultimately, from the point of view of those people, you need to keep as many as you can. So focus on who does what and where and how, make them happy, change their mindset, set new standards, lead the team, and keep as many of those people as you can. That's what the government grants for employed and for self-employed people are all about, keeping as many of those people active in your business as you possibly can. Okay, so entering the last few slides now. So this is a little bit about you and a little bit about building the mindset. I'm a massive advocate of daily rituals. If you haven't read The Miracle Morning, it's a great book. Miracle Morning teaches you how to set your mindset and your habits to get up early and achieve a lot of stuff in that first hour of the day before anybody else appears. So I get up 5:30, 6 o'clock, I walk the dogs, get back about 6:45, sit and read for 15 minutes, have some breakfast, walk to the office. I'm in the office usually by 8:15. That sets me up for the day. If I go back 5 years, 10 years probably, I used to fall out of bed at the last possible second, shower, shave, get dressed, get in the car, drive for an hour and a half to the office. Don't want to be doing any of that. So those daily rituals that you do are really important. Some people do I am statements first thing in the morning, midday and evening. Again, a great habit to get into. So think about all the things that you do every day and make those into daily rituals. Learning and growing, again, hugely important part of what it is you do. Today, this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity, not a crisis. Positive mindset, positive mental attitude. Out of every crisis, out of every panic, out of every problem, there is always an opportunity. What is it? Figure it out and think of it as being an opportunity for you to grow your business, change your business, increase your business. And if you're a smaller business, then finding small wins each day is really, really important. I've achieved that. I've done that. Did you know that every time you tick something off your to-do list, you get a little shot of dopamine? The happy drug. Makes you happy, makes you pleased. Write yourself a to-do list every day. Tick all those things off. Find the small wins every day that make you happy and make you smile. All part of that strong mindset. And lastly, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so tired of the negativity in the news and on the press. In the press, I don't turn the TV on until Boris comes on at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and I can listen to what the latest update is for the day, and then I'll turn it off. Not interested in all that negative Nelly news that there is everywhere. It doesn't help with mindset, and it doesn't help to keep my brain clear for thinking about what's happening next. Okay, step 10. 90-day plans. A plan for the next 90 days is absolutely crucial. If you haven't written a plan for the next 90 days, then there's a problem. If you haven't got a written plan, then you're going to plan to fail. So I have lots of templates that I can happily provide you, which will help you to write a 90-day plan. But what does the next 3 months look like? What am I going to do as we get out of this crisis? I'll help you with that in a moment on slide 12. What am I going to do to get out of this crisis? What does that actually look like? What are the steps I'm going to take on? Where do I want to be in 90 days? I'd like to have recovered all the sales I didn't make. I'd like to have, a net profit of X. I'd like to have all these people back on board. I'd like to have rebuilt my relationship with all my clients, whatever it might be. So think about what that destination looks like in that period. So just bear with me. Got a message coming through. Yeah, can absolutely do that. And Jane, fancy not owning a TV. So your plan for 90 days, as I said, critical. It is a 90-day game. What do your market and sales look like during that period? How will you deliver? What are you going to charge? Think about initially survival, the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then thriving for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. And again, you'll see that on slide 12 when I get to it, as to what that plan looks like. Work with your coach. You may not be a client. I am happy to help you. So if you want some time with me, westharts@actioncoach.com, drop us an email. We'll find half an hour in the diary in order to help you work on what your plan needs to look like. And step 11 is a little bit of an opportunist one. So there is going to be, stock market is, pardon my French, down the toilet right now. If you wanted to buy some shares, now's a great time. There are a lot of people I know that are beginning to invest, and that will help to drive the stock market back up, but they're buying at a very low price. Companies will be up for sale because they've got into trouble. Customers will be up for sale because the supplier they were buying from previously has got into trouble. Economic cycles, don't forget, this is every 7 to 10 years we have this, right? So the financial crisis, 2008 to 2010, here we are in 2020, we've got another problem. So business does this. Every 7 to 10 years, it goes through these cycles. So if you're planning on building a business to sell, you want to be building it now to sell in about 7 years' time, maybe 6 years' time, just to be safe, to avoid the next one, because there will be another one. economic cycles, and of course, from an investment point of view, if you're going to do it, act now. Okay, I wanted to finish by 1:15, so this is the last slide. So this is my interpretation of what's going to happen over the next X number of weeks. So we're in phase 1. This is lockdown. As you currently see it, we are here. So right at the beginning of the lockdown period, what do I need to be focusing on from a personal point of view, above the yellow line, and from a business point of view, below the yellow line? So above, family, personal care, personal finances, get that mortgage extension in place, get those credit card payments deferred, mindset, positive thinking, energy, health, diet, exercise, hydration, mindfulness, and sleep. Make sure you've got those all in your daily calendar so that you're doing the right things. From a business point of view, look after your staff, look after your business finances, mothball those parts of your businesses that don't work or can't work today, furlough those employees so that you're not covering all of their costs, and look for government assistance to help you in those areas. All right, just got another question coming in. Let's take a quick peek. Yeah, good point, Eddie. There is a version of this diagram which is in the Dropbox, which I'll give you access to. So this is phase 1, which is lockdown. And phase 2, which is the training piece we talked about. So think about this. What skills do I need as an individual from a personal point of view that I don't have today? Are there any online courses that I can do? Is there any coaching that I can do? Can I do some self-management of myself and my time and my focus? From a business point of view, below the line, vision and mission, products and services review, marketing strategies, all the stuff we've talked about. What does my new collateral need to look like when we come out of this? And keep your marketing going. Don't stop your marketing. So the end of phase 2 is the point when the government announced that lockdown is going to end. So phase 1, lockdown, phase 2, just prior to the lockdown ending, which I think is probably 2 weeks away from now, maybe 3 weeks away from now. And then we move into phase 3. So lockdown ends during this period. So what have I got to think about now? What does my diary look like? How's my mindset? I've got to prepare mentally for the next phase, which is the sprint phase. If you look at this, this is training, warm up, sprint, and then the marathon. These are the stages that we're kind of going through. So personal care, hugely, hugely important. As I said before, diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, meditation. What do I do from a business point of view? Well, staff are coming back from furlough or from working from home and back into the office. We're going to ramp up our marketing again. We're going to look to differentiate ourselves from our competitors, and we're going to look for opportunities to grow the business. Phase 4, this is the sprint, right? Lockdown's over, off we go, fast as we can, out of the blocks. Energy, clarity, focus, commitment and ownership from the point of view of you as an individual, from a business owner point of view, and you as a person. And then from a business angle, leading from the front, maximum effort, focusing on clients, existing clients, customer retention, remember, massively important part of this. Go back to your best customers, love them to death. Make sure they are the first people to be placing orders with you as we come out of this. New marketing strategies, and then of course, test and measure your 5 ways to make sure that you're generating the right number of leads to support the 90-day plan that you created during training. And then lastly, we're back into full speed, right? So this is compete and grow. So you're probably back in your next lot of 90 days. You're back in the point where now we're looking at growth again. You know, we're through the worst of the economic panic that has been going on. The stock market's back up. Your mortgage payments have resumed, etc., etc. So consistency for you personally. Balance, work-life balance. Don't give in and go back to work 90 hours a week. Think about it. Fun, massively important part of your personal motivation. From a business point of view, continuous improvement, great systems and processes, really key that you get those just right. Growth plans, part of that 90-day process. Optimize your marketing, your messaging. Were you doing physical marketing before and now you're doing virtual marketing? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Instagram? You know, what do all those things look like? What a great time to get all of that refined and perfected before you get to phase 5, which is the compete and grow phase. And ultimately, what we all want out of life, which is to build a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, which is the thing that everybody ultimately wants, and that's my kind of byline. That's what we work towards every day with all of our clients. Okay, so that's the meat of the content that we've been through. As I said, I will share this with you. That slide, that last slide, is in the Dropbox. I'll put this in the same place, this presentation, so you've got access to it. So get with your action coach, make your 90-day plan. If you're not a client of mine, doesn't matter, ring me and or message me, westharts@actioncoach.com, and we will fit you in the diary and get something sorted. What do I want you to do after this? As I said, we're action coach, not think about it coach. So the one thing, your bit of homework, is to sit down and list 5 ideas that you need to take action on today. What are those 5 ideas? What are those 5 things you're going to do before the end of play tomorrow, Friday? And if you'd be so kind, write them down and email them to me. I'd love to see what it is you've come up with. Questions? Anybody has any questions? We've got a couple of minutes left. Type them in the question box, the Q&A box, and I will endeavour to answer them. Oh, apologies there, Eddie. I can hear you and see the screens. Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? If you have, happy days. If you haven't, again, feel free to email me. I am more than happy. There's my details on the screen. Telephone number and website address. And there is a question coming through in the chat box, which says, I'll be in touch. Thank you, Jane. Long time no see. Thanks for joining. Hopefully everybody found that useful. As I say, if you did, then I'll put all this information in the Dropbox so you can access it afterwards. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Despite not being able to see your faces, I've got to tell you, this is quite hard to do when you can't see any audience reaction. So for those people that messaged in the chat box, I really appreciate that. Keeps you kind of focused and on point. I think there may be another question in the Q&A box, so just bear with me. Very positive. Thank you, Sonia. Good to hear that. Eddie Gerard, costs involved. Costs involved from the point of view of coaching. Loads and loads of different coaching programs. If you're interested in being coached, obviously I'm happy to talk to you. The purpose of this really was to give you some parameters with which you could work over the next few weeks to create a plan for what happens next in your business. So no costs involved today. If you want 30 minutes of my time, just email me or ring me, and we'll be happy to put you in the diary and talk about that. And if the end result of that is we get through this and you want some coaching, of course, I'd be more than happy to have the conversation with you. Just so you know, I coach people from £150,000 business, startups with nothing, all the way up to a £700 million business right at the top end of the scale. So lots of different companies in every genre you can think of. My 35 years in business has given me a reasonable amount of experience. I can usually find an angle for most people to make those things interesting. Great, so we're bang on 40 minutes. I was aiming for, no, we're not. We're a little bit over, actually. We're bang on 50 minutes. I was aiming for 40 minutes, so I'm 10 minutes over. So thank you very much for your perseverance, everybody. It's been great to talk to you. My name is Simon Elson, and I am the head coach for Action Coach in West Hertfordshire. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.